Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for August 23rd, 2014. It's a Saturday morning and we do have some rain to deal with. We have a lot to talk about, in fact. We have a tropical disturbance, only a disturbance, around the Bahamas and just to the north of Hispaniola that we have to keep an eye on. I'll explain why. We also have to talk about rain today. Very nice weekend on the way for once we get rid of this rain. Actually, tomorrow's going to be actually very, very nice. We have below normal temperatures and then temperatures returning back to near normal. After all, it's still summer, kind of. So we have to talk about a lot of stuff here and the potential for a washout for next weekend, unfortunately. All right, so let's get to all the data. We have a lot to talk about, don't we? All right. First of all, the temperatures. Currently, right now, it is basically in the lower to mid 60s over the interior, mid to upper 60s in the New York City metropolitan area, and upper 60s to lower 70s over the Philadelphia metropolitan area and much of the New Jersey coast. Now, one thing you will notice is A, we have a lot of cloud cover around here, and B, we have a northeasterly to easterly wind around 5 to 15 miles per hour throughout the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. And that, of course, is transporting in a marine air mass into the northern mid-Atlantic. And that means cool temperatures. High temperatures today will range from the lower to mid 70s throughout the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. Let me repeat that again. Lower to mid 70s. We should be in the lower to mid 80s, so we're about 10 degrees below what we should be for this time of year. And you could thank the marine air mass because of a high pressure system way up in northeastern Canada. Meanwhile, we have areas of low pressure passing to our south and west, and that's what's producing the scattered showers. Now, you can see that very clearly on the latest surface map. Here's our high pressure system. It's dropping south. It was originally up here around Newfoundland and also northeastern Quebec. It is dropping south, and as it's doing so, is forcing that marine air mass right into the Philadelphia, New York City metropolitan area. Now, the bad news on that is that we're dealing with rain this morning in some locations. The good news with that is that by this evening and into tomorrow, we'll have clearing skies, low humidity, and temperatures in the 70s for highs for late August. I don't think you can ask for better weather than that. It's like weather like for late September. So it's going to be absolutely beautiful out there once we get through with this rain. And you could thank this low pressure system right here for that rainfall. Now, this cold front right here will help to usher in some of that cooler air, but it will be a dry passage. And we have another strong area high pressure, should I say, up here in central Canada that we also will be dealing with moving forward. So we have a lot going on here on the surface map, but that doesn't even touch the complication of this weather pattern moving forward over the next 7 to 10 days, because it has a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to consider. So first of all, let's take a look at our radar, and it's finally up. Here we are. Here's an area of rainfall. Now, this area of rainfall and this area of rainfall is basically driven by what we call mid-level disturbances. They're pesky. They're sometimes can be very volatile in nature to forecast for, and they can really create a real headache for meteorologists. So what we're seeing is that this area of rainfall slowly drops south and east, and we're going to be dealing with this throughout much of today in these areas over much of eastern Pennsylvania and central and southern New Jersey. If you're in the New York City metro and up towards, let's say, the Hudson River Valley in Connecticut, you're still at the threat for scattered showers. But I don't think it's going to be a washout today. It's going to be one of those days where you have cloud cover. Bring an umbrella with you for an isolated shower that produces a heavy downpour, but only lasts about 15 to 30 minutes. So it's not a washout for today. It's just more of a nuisance. You know, if you have outdoor plans, I probably wouldn't go to the beach. But if you're going to a ball game, going to a golf tournament, or anything of that nature, okay, bring a small umbrella, but then enjoy the rest of the day because most of the day will be dry. Unfortunately for the Philadelphia metropolitan area, not so lucky. You're going to be dealing with rain on and off throughout the day, with variable to overcast cloud cover. And if you're down towards the Jersey Shore, basically south of Monmouth County, which is right here, you're going to be dealing with periods of rain throughout the day once this heavy rainfall approaches your location, because once it gets there, it's not leaving anytime soon. So unfortunately, throughout much of later this morning on through this afternoon, after all it is 9 a.m. right now, you're going to be dealing with periods of rainfall. So it's not going to be the best day to go to the beach, let's say from Ocean County on south through Cape May County as you move on through the day. If you're out there right now, you're watching this on your iPhone or whatever mobile device, then I would say enjoy the beach weather during the morning and get the heck out of there for the afternoon because you're going to be rather soggy for the rest of the day. So that's what we're dealing with for today is this disturbance and of course these showers. Now you can see that very clearly on the latest infrared satellite picture. Here's your high pressure system. You can literally see the marine air mass building south, dropping south here. So you have that marine air mass dropping south. You have that disturbance dropping to the south and east. So it's kind of one flow of air coming in from the Atlantic, the other coming in from the Great Lakes, and they're interacting, producing those periods of showers. And where they interact, you can see a little bit more lifting here, focused from northeastern Pennsylvania down through southeastern New Jersey. You see that very clearly, that lifting factor really developing here. Another area basically from south central Pennsylvania down towards Maryland and southern Virginia. So you can see how this is all setting up for today. These pesky disturbances drop south and east. This high pressure system builds south. So the further north you are, the more likely you'll see tranquil weather conditions. The further south you are, I would say get a book and relax because it's not going to be the best day for outdoor activities. Now, of course, we do have a tropical disturbance to worry about. So here it is. The disturbance that everyone's been worrying about all week. I've been watching on social media. It's a little bit ridiculous here. We got storm maps for impacts from Texas to Maine of a major hurricane. There is no major hurricane. This doesn't even have a focused, well-developed, low-level circulation. It's just starting to show some rotation finally as it's approaching the Bahamas. This is not a strong system, but it does have a lot of moisture. And that is what concerns me here. So, as always with tropical disturbances, you have to keep an eye on things because tropical or warm core low pressure systems do have a very pesky knack of rapidly developing and creating havoc with your forecast. So, no lie, you have to keep an eye on them. But you don't have to warn the entire East Coast that all heck is going to break loose. Let's calm down a little bit. We don't even have a closed or a well-developed low-level circulation, so you really can't even trust the model guidance all that much. But you can use a little bit of logic here and look at the overall pattern and see what you're dealing with. So what we're dealing with right now is an area of showers and thunderstorms. Some of these thunderstorms are producing some strong wind gusts and some sustained winds up to tropical storm strength. So basically what you have here is a very strong squall line. That's it. Now you have an Hurricane Air Force reconnaissance plane in there right now. I was just checking some of the latest updates as of 9:05 a.m. and there's a very weak circulation, but it's poorly defined on their radar according to the latest observations. So again, this is not a strong tropical system. It's not even a well-developed, organized tropical system. If you're down in the Bahamas and you're watching this, hey, thank you. But you're going to be dealing with heavy rainfall, regardless of whether this develops or not. If you're in Florida, there's a potential you could see some impacts in the form of some heavy rainfall. But right now, I am not going to go around here and say that we're dealing with a strong tropical system or even a tropical storm right now. We don't even have a well-developed low-level circulation. So that's where we are right now. And since we know that we don't have a well-developed tropical low-pressure system or a well-defined center of location to influence this track, we have to be very careful in what models we use. And more importantly, to give you the full idea of what's out there, what's the potential, but why the difference in potential, and what we have to watch out for. So what we have here is a potential for adding a lot of moisture, tropical moisture, to the overall pattern. And that could influence the pattern and the forecast as we move on towards later in the week for the northern mid-Atlantic. Could it be something more significant? I'm not going to lie, it could be. If you get it set up just right, if you actually get a low-level circulation developing, which I'm guessing would be somewhere right around here. Okay, if you get that type of low-level circulation developing and it gets a chance to kind of sit around here to the north of the Bahamas where we have some very warm water and we get a high pressure ridge build right over it at just the right time, yeah, you could see some rapid development. It's a possibility. It's one of the many possibilities. You could also see this whole thing get picked up by the trough over the northwestern Atlantic, get kicked out into the Atlantic and have no impact whatsoever on us aside from enhancing the 500 millibar pattern. So there's a variety of potential here. There's a lot of different scenarios that could evolve here, but I'm not comfortable going around saying that we're dealing with a tropical storm in the future or a hurricane or anything of that nature. All we have right now is a disturbance. That's it. That's all we have. Okay, so I want to make that very clear. I don't want to scare you. I just want to give you the possibilities here. So we know that the models are going to be less than unreliable here because we don't know what we're dealing with here. We don't have a full development here. Now remember, all the models up to this point had this ranging from either a hurricane down here, if you remember earlier on to the week, to a major hurricane up here in the Bahamas. And of course, we know 5 days out, we have nothing like that at all. We just have a disturbance. So when we look at the models, let's keep that in mind, that how big of an error we have just 5 days out, let alone 2 days out. And then let's look at what we're dealing with in the pattern overall. So on the water vapor satellite picture, throughout all of North America, a couple of key points. Now I have the disturbance down here. I have 500 millibar winds here, and of course our surface pattern here. Now for today, you can see our high pressure system and our trough, and look at that dry air just pushing south. That's pretty impressive. And you can see that influence from northeastern Canada driving south. And here comes our disturbances driving south. And therefore, here's our rainfall and our lifting factor right here. Now here we have another disturbance, and another one, and another one. So we have all these disturbances here in the west. We have a nice little heat ridge developing over the plains and the southeast. We have the tropical disturbance approaching. So this tropical disturbance will try to get under this heat ridge. But in the meantime, we have this trough here. So the first question is whether this trough is strong enough to pull this north. Most models say yes. Some models say no, it stays continue on this track heading right towards Florida and then eventually gets picked up. So that's the first question. Does this trough dig far enough? And it looks like it just might. It looks like if you look at the base of the trough here and this top of the moisture envelope with this disturbance, it is starting to have some northern influence on the top, on the northern extreme of the moisture envelope of this disturbance. So I would not be surprised if this gets pulled up, let's say, to around here, rather than tracking towards Florida, based on what I'm seeing with this trough here right now on observations from the water vapor satellite picture. So we have to watch out for that first. Then, once we get that, then we have to see how this disturbance and this disturbance basically interact, phase, intensify, and dig over the northern plains and as it approaches the east coast by the end of the week. So those are the two forecast questions that we're dealing with here. How strong is the trough approaching the east coast by the time we get to about Thursday? And also, how far north this disturbance gets drawn to the north before approaching the coast of the southeast. So those are the two forecast questions that we have to wait for to see how it evolves. And of course, as a result, you have models producing a wide variety of solutions, anywhere from tracking this into Florida and then curving it up the coast to basically having it meander off the southeast coast and head out into the northern Atlantic, to crawling up the east coast in some form. And I'm not saying a hurricane here. It could just be a weak tropical low pressure system with a ton of moisture. So you have a ton of moisture moving up the coast with a cold front approaching from the west, and that means a very wet Labor Day weekend on the way. Or it could be a hurricane. We have to wait and see how it evolves. So we have to calm down. Don't get worried. Don't get panicked. Just watch it evolve. And believe me, if there's something really to be concerned about as far as major impacts, I'll let you know. But there's no reason to put out maps or anything of that nature 10 days out or 5 days out, because the model error in this is tremendous. So just calm down, take a deep breath, everything will be fine. Because you have me forecasting for you, and you know you can trust me. So that's what we have here in place. So those are the forecast questions. So let's take a look at the models. I'm going to use the European model guidance from the Penn State EWOL website first, and then I'll show you the GFS solution to kind of close this out. So again, for today, we have our disturbance passing to our south, periods of showers, heaviest rain over the Philadelphia metro, scattered showers possible still over the New York City metro. As you move north, it gets drier. Look for temperatures in the lower to mid 70s for highs today. For tomorrow, that high pressure system builds south. It literally drops south right into the Mohawk River Valley and heading towards the New Jersey coast, which means that we'd clear out with high pressure in control. Temperatures tonight will fall into the mid to upper 50s for lows. That's pretty chilly for this time of year. And then for high temperatures, actually lower to mid 50s over portions of the interior if we clear out enough. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see like a 49 or a 48 degree temperature low in some of those hidden valleys, because we're looking at mid to upper 50s for lows along the coast. So it should be interesting to watch, see how much we clear out. Remember all that dry air dropping south from the St. Lawrence River Valley heading towards our neck of the woods. For tomorrow, high temperatures, mid to upper 70s for highs, and very comfortable conditions with dew points in the upper 50s to lower 60s. It's going to feel very comfortable and very, well, pleasant out for the most part. Now notice we do have some moisture at the mid-levels here. That's indicative of a marine air mass, of course. So what that basically means is that we'll have to deal with a few clouds, for the most part, but nothing really to be worried about. And you see at 500 millibars, here's that convergent flow supporting high pressure. Here's that heat ridge taking hold. Because of this northwestern Atlantic trough, that's what prevents us from seeing that heat wave everyone's been talking about. So if you're in the Ohio River Valley down to the Gulf Coast here, yeah, it's going to get pretty toasty. But if you're in the northern mid-Atlantic, not so much. Meanwhile, here's our tropical disturbance here. Here's our trough, and here's what we have to watch out for. Just how far south does that influence pull this disturbance to the north. By the time we get to Monday, high pressure still in control, very comfortable weather conditions. Again, here's our tropical disturbance down here. Here's our ridge. It's in a rather favorable environment for the most part. Notice it's got pulled far enough north towards the north of the Bahamas to be under the influence of A, the high pressure ridge, and B, a favorable environment with warm water, and so on and so forth. So this is where you could see development. And remember, especially my premium members, I told you way back in March that, or even, well, maybe even in February, I forgot. But this is the area, and many other meteorologists have said this to us. It's not like I'm a super genius or anything. So we know that this area is where the best potential for tropical development this year. So there we have it. So if something's going to really get going, here is where it's going to happen. Here's the action where we have to watch out for. So again, we have high pressure and control, high pressure at all levels of the atmosphere. Remember, location matters, and look where our high pressure system is located, off of the New England coast at this point, which means that we have temperatures returning to near normal. Not a heat wave, just near normal. So we have mid to upper 50s for lows, lower to mid 80s for highs. Overall, a very comfortable weather pattern in place. Ignore that. Moving forward, again, here we have that high pressure ridge, tranquil weather conditions. Here is that trough I was telling you about. So here we are on Tuesday. Here's our tropical low pressure system. Now even the European model guidance starts to get this really kind of get going here. Okay, we have to watch the development out here. Again, high pressure under control. We have, sorry about that. We have very comfortable weather conditions up and down the East Coast. Here's that dry air right here. So again, high pressure and control for Tuesday. Clear skies, temperatures near normal, upper 50s to lower 60s for lows, lower to mid 80s for highs. So it's not anything like a heat wave or anything of that nature under our weather pattern at this point. Very comfortable weather conditions in place. And again, we are watching that tropical disturbance, whatever it may be. It could be a tropical storm or hurricane at this point, because again, this is a very favorable area for development. Moving forward though, 120 hours here. Let's see if we can jump right to that. And you could see what I'm concerned about here. Here's that trough here. Here's our tropical disturbance, whatever it may be. Again, for Wednesday, tranquil weather conditions, upper 50s to lower 60s for lows, lower to mid 80s for highs. Could even be a little bit warmer on Wednesday, depending on the development of this tropical disturbance, because to the north and west of these tropical storms or hurricanes or just tropical lows in general, you have very strong sinking air. So we could end up with a very warm day, in fact, over the northern mid-Atlantic because of whatever is developing off the east coast. So Wednesday could end up being a very warm day. And then on Thursday, we have to watch to see how this trough develops. Now, the European model guidance keeps this disturbance and this disturbance separate. Key point here, because they remain separate, this just gets picked up and sent out into the northern Atlantic. It's not pulled towards the coast, and this just meanders out here in the plains. So as a result, we end up with just a passing cold front on Thursday night into Friday, with a few showers here and there, but not anything significant. Temperatures on Thursday in the lower to mid 60s for lows, lower to mid 80s for highs. Could be a few upper 80s in the urban locations, but again, nothing that's significant. We might actually end up above normal on Thursday, maybe, possibly, if we don't see any rainfall. And then for the upcoming weekend, Memorial Day week, the Labor Day weekend, should I say, high pressure is in control, comfortable weather conditions are in place. Temperatures in the lower to mid 60s for lows, lower to mid 80s for highs, and the same thing for Saturday. However, let me just pull up the GFS. And I'm not saying the GFS is right, I'm just saying it's a possible solution. Because what the GFS does, and some of the ensemble model guidance does, is that it incorporates this disturbance that was hanging out in the Central Plains on the European guidance and interacts with that disturbance over Canada. So what it does is that it creates a deeper trough. So it's not just like, well, the one model suite is doing this and one model suite is doing that. There's a reason for that. And the question is whether that disturbance over the plains is picked up by this stronger trough over Canada, producing a deeper trough over the eastern United States and pulling whatever is meandering out here around the Bahamas, whether it's a disturbance, a storm, or a hurricane, up the east coast and pulling it into this trough, which means that next weekend would therefore be, instead of a comfortable, tranquil, temperatures near normal type of weather weekend, unfortunately it ended up being a rainy, humid, uncomfortable, possibly stormy weekend for Labor Day weekend. It all depends on the interaction of these two disturbances here, how deep the trough is, and what we're going to be dealing with as far as what's down there around the Bahamas. So we have a lot of volatility in the forecast. I hope I explained it to you. Don't get worried. Don't run out to the store and scream, oh my God, or storm's coming. There's a lot to watch out for. Again, we're just dealing with a tropical wave at this point, or a trough. And there's a lot of forecast questions to resolve that hopefully we start to get an answer to over the next 48 to 66 hours, next 2 to 3 days, and we'll go from there. So that is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe out there.